letting go is a welcoming. This is a key mantra for people who are trying to heal some emotional wound, some painful feeling, transform a challenging or difficult behavior, or to heal from their trauma. And I speak to people every day who are trying to do just these things and who are in difficult situations. And very understandably, they're coming to it with a mindset that's, like I say, understandable, but that doesn't work. This is this idea that, okay, I've got to get rid of this. I've got to change it. This cannot be here. This pattern, this feeling, it cannot be here. And this doesn't work, unfortunately, because in so doing, you're resisting and rejecting a part of you, namely this pattern of behavior, this feeling, whatever it might be. And when that part is rejected and pushed away, told it's wrong, it shouldn't be here, it just holds on even more tightly. I often use this analogy of like if your being is a house and say a difficult feeling like sadness comes along, and that sadness is like a child representing that. The child knocks on the door, and if you see that sadness, hey, you can't come in here. No, you've got to change. You're not coming in here all sad like that. Does that make the child more or less sad? Versus when you say, okay, come in, you're welcome. Sit down. What's going on? I'm here. You can feel, there's like a relaxation that occurs. And this is what we've got to do with these parts of ourselves. But we've been so heavily conditioned, right? When we're growing up, essentially what you're doing when you're growing up, your major activity, what do you think you're doing when you're hanging out with your friends and talking and laughing? You're sifting out, you're sorting out those aspects of you that are acceptable, that are allowed, that become your personality outwardly, including all the things you make up in order to be more loved and liked that are inauthentic, but little masks and patterns that you invent to be accepted. And you're sifting out those parts of you that aren't acceptable. Maybe your anger, maybe there's certain opinions you have, there's certain desires you have, or certain things are too much for you, right? You don't have the support, the grief is too intense. So you have to push these things down into the unconscious, right? So it starts with a rejection of these parts, and that's what creates the suffering, because there are all these parts down in the dungeons of your being that are trying to come up to the surface, to be seen, to be felt, to be heard, and we're pushing them back down. That's mainly what like anxiety, depression, all these mental health, all the chaotic thinking. This is the result of like pushing down all these parts of us and feeling so fragmented. We're split into like hundreds of different parts. We're not very whole, and we have no idea what's really down there. And, that repressed material, in Freud's words, Freud used the word, the return of the repressed, he called it, when stuff sort of squirts and squirrels its way out was sideways. If you've repressed your anger, it maybe comes out in like massive passive aggression or people pleasing or something like that, right? These things have a massive impact on our life. So when we're trying to transform, we can't keep pushing these things away. We need to welcome them in. So what does that involve? Welcoming them in is to hold these parts so close, to draw them in so that you become them. You integrate them into your being. And it's when they're integrated that they actually start to relax and dissolve. They cause the problems when they're being pushed away, when they're isolated and orphaned. They're like moons around the planet of your being. They're like these broken, shattered moons that are just spinning around. You need to suck them all into the planet in the middle, right? And when you do that, then you start to feel more whole and integrated. They stop causing those problematic behaviors. And so the way you want to do this is essentially becoming that part. So if you feel shame, you've got to really let yourself be ashamed. If that part of you just thinks like, I'm not good enough, right? It's just like, oh man, I have this memory of these people who are laughing at me. I'm not good enough. You have to really embody that, really sit right in the heart of that shame and letting it be true. Okay, I'm not good enough. It's like you become that part. Now you're not getting sucked into it. You're not blending with it. You're sort of conscious. You want to have some sense of awareness that this is just a part of you. It's not the whole of you. But you really want to allow it as much as you can. Maybe the head drops. You're just really feeling, oh man, God, I'm just not good enough. Ugh. You can just really feel it. Or the rage, right? Really let that anger, really become the anger or become the fear. That's integrating it fully into you. Now, the difficulty is people resist emotions a lot. And one major way they do that is kind of like intellectualizing what's going on. They try and what I call balance the books of the emotions. So anger comes up and they try and rationalize it. Well, I shouldn't be angry because, They were being very reasonable, actually. And I just, we try and justify our emotions. And we almost always think that what we're feeling is inappropriate and think that on that basis, we shouldn't be feeling it and try and push it away. But again, it's there. You don't actually get to choose what you're feeling. You only get to be honest about it, right? So even if you think it's inappropriate, let that go and just see if you can become really let that anger come up anyway. Now, people think that if this happens, if they let the anger up, that means they're an angry person, or it means that if there's a part of them that wants to, just wants to hit everybody in the, wants to go around, just hit everybody in the face. It's just so angry at the world and everyone. They think that if they allow that, then they're actually going to do that, right? It's like if I allow this part of me that wants to hurt other people, for example, if that part is really upset and really angry, it might want to hurt other people. If I allow that, then I might hurt other people, or it means that I'm a violent person. But this isn't the case at all. In fact, if you push it down, if you repress it, you're more likely to act it out. If you welcome it in, that doesn't mean you have to do anything. All it means that there's a part of you here that feels really hurt and is really angry, and it's acting out, it's lashing out. And you can, in the safety of your own being, let it play that out without actually doing anything in the world, right? And this would be a real welcoming. It's taking whatever is there and letting it be exactly as it is, regardless of whether it makes sense, of whether it's nice, it's justified, it's appropriate, knowing that it's not true in some absolute sense. It doesn't mean you are any particular way. It doesn't mean you have to do anything or behave in a particular way. All it says, I'm here this way. And we want to really welcome that into our house, just as it is. Be like, okay, I'm not good enough. Because if you feel that all the way through and integrate it, that sense of being not good enough dissolves. And then you feel much lighter. You don't feel not good enough at all. You actually have much higher sense of self-esteem. Similarly with the anger, if you really integrate the anger and allow that violence to be within you for a few minutes, you integrate it, and then that need drops away. That part of you is no longer sort of isolated, flapping around in your unconscious, causing all kinds of problems. The same goes for certain patterns of behavior. Because really certain patterns of behavior are driven by emotions. And so if you want to change a pattern, so if you're drinking too much, for example, you want to identify what's that feeling that's there when I drink too much, and then welcoming that in the same way. So it's really, you don't focus on the behavior itself and be like, oh, I should be different. I should not drink as much. I shouldn't drink as much. That's just adding more shame, more fuel to the fire. You're shaming yourself for how you feel and how you're coping with how you feel. And that just tightens the whole thing. It's just going to result in more stress in the system and more drinking. Instead, you go to that feeling, welcoming it in, becoming it. Now, resistance is a big topic here, because sometimes it's hard to become a particular part because we've been taught that emotion or that, being that way, that state is not acceptable, or it's really dangerous. Like many people are taught that their anger isn't acceptable and your parents are going to threaten you, which when you're 3 years old, feels terrifying. It's like life or death. So you learn to really keep that anger under wraps. So working with resistance is really key. Now I have a whole 30-minute video on this. So go type in resistance into my channel and you can find that. And I go way into depth on how to work with resistance. But keeping with the theme of today, I'll just say one thing, which is that what do you do with it? How do you let go of resistance? Welcoming it in. Hopefully you got that. You want to welcome the resistance in, listen to it, feel it, let it resist, become that part of it. It's like, no, I don't want to, I can't feel the anger, I'll get in so much trouble. I can't feel the anger, I'll get in so much trouble. I can't do it. No. Letting the chest tighten or whatever it is, wherever you're feeling that resistance. And in that welcoming, it eventually starts to let go. And that's how you work with resistance. And then when that resistance lets go, then the anger has space to come up and you can welcome that in. So I hope this helps. Letting go is a welcoming. So if you've got that attitude of like, okay, I need to fix it, I need to get rid of this. Curiously, how do you let go of that? Well, you welcome it in. You notice that part of you that's like, I don't want this to be here. I don't want this to be here. And you feel the, the frustration, the pain of that part of you that's like, I can't handle this. I don't know what to do. And then that fixing starts to relax. And then all the things that you're trying to fix then come up to the surface for transformation. It's very counterintuitive, but life is a counterintuitive thing. Good luck. Send me a message if you have any questions. And I work with people one-on-one doing this stuff. So if you, we can have a free chat if you just check out some of the links below. See you later.